Good evening. Yo, family, I am so excited for this episode. I got the one and only, my guy Reese, man. Reese Wiley. Look, let me let y'all know something. If you don't know Reese, you need to get to know Reese. I think everybody needs a little bit of Reese in their lives, man.
Just like we need a little bit of ease in our lives too.
Bro, you're the life of the party. You always, bring in the vibes, the energy. Yo, matter of fact, my wedding probably wouldn't have been as hyped as it was if it wasn't for you, like kicking the whole thing off when you started dancing while the food was still out. Like everybody's trying to eat, and you like, look, my Boo by Usher is on, man. I got to get up.
Sometimes you got to bring that energy, man. It takes one person to go ahead and set a little spark, right? So, I was with it, especially at the African wedding. That was different.
Come on now. Was that your first African wedding, or
That was my first African wedding. I respect. And now I want to have an African wedding.
We gotta find your African wife then, huh?
In fact,
hey, but low key, look, man, you're Jamaican, right? So the diaspora, you come from Africa anyway.
Yeah,
right?
bro, it's a thing.
We all in there. We all African. But man, for y'all who don't know Reese, like I said, you need to know some Reese in your life. But you have Complex Health and Fitness. You're the founder of the Magic City Cup, creator of the Magic City Cup down in Miami. The Healthy Choice clothing brand.
Yeah, wow.
Man, a ton of different things, and we're going to touch on that here in a second. But in this podcast, in these string of episodes, I've been focusing on interviewing people who are immigrants or first generation, second generation immigrants, or not too far removed from your roots. And with you specifically, I wanted to talk about just different aspects of my book. So my book, Immigrant American, Living an American Life with African Perspectives, is coming out, or by the time you listen to this, it may already be out. And I think that you have, I appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I think that you have a lot of unique things to share. So really, I just want to start first and foremost, man, what's your story? How did your people get over here to the United States of America from Jamaica?
So my mom and dad had me. And I'm kidding. No, but so basically, my mother and father had a conversation. They're like, "Yo, look, there's not really much opportunity in Jamaica." So, okay, cool. Well, what does that look like? Well, for my kids, my sister, and myself, like, there's not much that's going to be in our future, like, if we stay there. So, my mom actually made a decision to come over to the States first. So, she moved to Miami. Wow. I was 2 years old when she moved, actually. And then about a year and a half, 2 years after is when she finally moved my dad, myself, and my sister up there.
So it was just your mom for like a year and a half?
For by herself. She was up there like for about a year and a half or two. Just like figuring out what she was going to do, like kind of scoping out the area, seeing what was good. But my mom is a hustler, bro. Like she's like, yo, like, if I got to get it done, however it's going to happen, it's going to happen. So we moved over here. I spoke like no English like that. I spoke Batoba very, very heavily. And she had to get me into educational courses that allowed me to learn English as an English language versus the Patois. And then from there, I was able to get into school. And, after that, it was the story, like the true story, of what came after. But coming from Jamaica to America was rough. We didn't really have a home. And it's funny because I went to my mom's house for Thanksgiving. And this is the first time I was like, yo, I went to my mom's house,
Wow. That's amazing, bro.
Years to go ahead and do that. Of course, because of immigration issues, paying different things, like fees that you wouldn't even think you had to have, unless like, you went through it, and it's a blessing to be able to step foot in that home and you walk in and it's Jamaican. Like there's elephants everywhere, there's white and gold, and you smell the ackee and saltfish and stuff. And I'm like, yo, this is so you. But I was extremely proud to know that, she did that and accomplished that, regardless of the time frame. And she set up a stage for myself and my sister to be greater. So, all kudos to her.
That's dope, man. How old were you whenever you actually learned how to speak English fluently?
Oh, I was probably about 6, bro.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I came to the U.S. 7, 8 years old, and I wasn't fluent in English until like almost 10, right?
Yeah, gotcha. It took a couple of years. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, but the same thing, right? ESL. I had to take all these ESL classes in elementary just to, to get it right. But those ESL classes were dope, man. I had people who were Asian in there, people who were from Sudan, folks who were from Mexico, like
all
everywhere.
Type of different cultures. But that's really good that I think it was a pivotal point for me being able to be exposed to those different cultures during that time too, because you're able to, see somebody else Asian or see somebody else Hispanic and trying to learn the same thing you are. So it kept your eyes open to diversity and inclusion versus like exclusion,
Yeah, no, definitely, man. Yeah, and one part of the story that you just shared is your mom just got her house not too long ago. And I think that especially whenever immigrants come over here, they face double discrimination, right? Because one, if you're black, the racist people are looking at you like, look, I'm already going to discriminate. But then also two, if you have an accent, then for whatever reason, it doesn't register in their mind that you're equal or that they are equal because
Facts.
they have an accent. So now they're looking at you like, look, you're going to have to create your own opportunities because I'm not about to give you an opportunity.
1,000%.
Yeah, man.
What's funny? Even with that, it's hilarious. So my mom was talking about it the other day because she's a travel nurse now. So she travels to, like Texas, Alabama, California, all these different places. And of course, like there's still some racism that exists, and they treat her differently, right? Initially. But then when she pulls out her Jamaican accent, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I went to Jamaica. You're Jamaican, like, and it's a little bit different, which is awesome. But there's still the adversity as far as like getting over those initial like, struggles as far as like, hey, like at the end of the day, I'm still black. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't change.
There's something about Jamaican accents that are different from it. Like it's almost like, somebody talks with a Jamaican accent. We cool, man. I got you. Like I don't know if it's accepted because of Cool Runnings or Bob Marley or whatever it is, man. But it's almost like it was a part of American culture since the 80s, since the 70s.
Facts.
And people are just like, look, we embrace that a lot more than maybe people from other islands or
1,000%.
parts of the world.
I think honestly it does go back to the Bob Marley thing because Bob was universal, bro. He had concerts in Europe and in the States and then of course the islands and stuff. But even so, you see his the roots of reggae, the roots of like Bob too. It spans out into like Panama and Puerto Rico and all these different places that you would never think would have a population that was like reggae influence. But you go to Panama, there's an area that all these like Hispanics and the fair tone, they have locks down their back. And they press like, yo, Bob Marley, like, reggae, you know what I'm saying? And it's awesome. So
everybody's reggae influence, man.
Everybody.
Because I remember I was talking to my dad, and he was saying even whenever they were in Congo, he said the two biggest stars that they had whenever he was growing up, he said one was Elvis Presley.
Wow.
He said like, they loved Elvis Presley over there. Wow. And then two was Bob Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used to jam out to Bob Marley whenever he was growing up in Kinshasa and all that. So.
And then when I went to Africa in 2018, that's the second time I went.
I was in Kenya?
Yes, in Rongo. And then at that time I had locks, a little shorter, but I had my locks still. Yeah. And bro, legitimately, it was funny because I went to the little campsite or whatever, and everybody had like the utmost respect for me before I even said a word.
Really?
I'm like, yo, why y'all keep looking at me like this? And they're like, yo, like it's your hair, like yo, you come from, a different place, but like they know the locks because of Bob and the regular, so they immediately associate that with like that culture, and they already knew like, hey, look, like this guy's like he's a king, So never cut my hair.
Isn't that funny how in that part of the world the locks are actually so respected, whereas
revered.
If you're in corporate America, if you're in different parts of the country, it's like I don't know how comfortable I feel with that, but
1,000%.
It's revered over there, bro.
Yeah, man.
Shoot, let me ask you this, man. Because you came here at a young age and you grew up in the United States, do you ever feel disconnected ever from?
I don't. I think at one point in time I did for a moment, but I think my parents did a really great job of keeping the culture strong in the household. But also we lived in areas of Miami that was predominantly Caribbean. So we had like little hubs of our culture in the States, and then when I would go back or whatever, and like I'll visit my aunts, like it was like the same thing, But of course we don't live there, so it's different. Like, they know when you're a Yankee. You know what I'm saying, like when you're not from there, like they can smell you. But like legit, like no. But I think that they did a good job of preserving our culture, and I think we held it dear to our hearts. And even like Jamaican culture is just strong everywhere, bro. Like you look at the Olympics and like, the Olympics when Usain was running, the amount of like it was like having a pep rally and a tailgate for these things for a good 10 seconds of a run.
But for real.
Because of people like him and like Bob and stuff like that, and even just like seeing the whole reggae influence coming into the culture in the States, like we hold it dear to our hearts. Say, yo, we're Jamaican.
Bro, just the Olympics this past summer, right? 2021. You know, it was supposed to happen in 2020, 2021.
Yes.
And the women sprinters.
Take over. Yeah, man.
I mean, come on now. Look, just the way that you said that. But so my wife and I, we have a homegirl here in Dallas.
Yeah.
And she's originally from Jamaica. She's from she grew up in Canada. But then
a lot of Jamaicans up there actually.
Oh yeah, a whole bunch.
Yeah.
I love Canada just because it's that. Well, Toronto specifically, man, so diverse. But yeah. Bro, you couldn't tell her nothing whenever Jamaica was smoking them in the Olympics, dog.
Nah.
Like, she was over here, all with the pride, dog. I was like, look, I ain't never heard your accent that thick. Yeah, man.
Bro, it's so good. I love our culture, man. And like, again, like even when I have kids and stuff like that, all my family's still live over there. Mm-hmm. But like whenever I go back, before pandemic, I went back like 4 or 5 times that year. And just like, you know, indulged in the culture, like went to my roots and stuff. And it's funny because you'll see like where you come from, the area. It's a reflection of who you are. Because even when I come to the States, I'm like, yo, I need to be near water. I need to go ahead and get my wake surf. I need to go ahead and get a surfboard. Like that's just like stuff that was embedded in me. Like, yo, I want to go do that. But back home, I went to a specific area where like you go out to the beach and it's nothing but Rastas like with the surfboards, and I'm like, dang, it makes so much sense that you know I just naturally have like a gifting or an inclination for that because of where I come from, you know.
You surf?
Yeah.
Bruh, hold on. So you surf, you play soccer.
Yeah.
You have all these different businesses that you do.
Yeah.
Right? You're into health and fitness.
Yeah.
You DJ too, right? Like,
on the low, yeah.
No, you know that you're like the quintessential Jamaican stereotype right now.
I have 7, 10 jobs.
Because you know they talk about, hey, Jamaica's got to have at least 10 jobs. Like, you know, 10 different hobbies that they do, man. But
you know, I think that comes from too is just like, because we're very free spirited.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I feel like in our culture, we never want to limit ourselves to anything. Like, yo, if we see something, we're probably going to try it, you know? And I think that it's like better in my life. My mom, like, she's always been an advocate for like, hey, look, like, whatever you think you can do, go do it. You know, like, don't be a square. Don't be in a box, because they've been trying to box you in since the inception of time. So, you know, don't walk that path. So it's funny, like in my graduate program, I studied sports medicine, and initially, that's when I first started locking my hair. And my professors were like, hey, look, hey, you can't have long hair. We don't like when guys have long hair. I'm like, excuse me? I'm like, hey, okay, cool. Well, you'll have to keep me out of the program. And it's funny, when we had the conversation, I was like, hey, like, what's my GPA in here again? And they were like, oh, you know, you have a 3.8, 3.9. I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to let my locks grow.
Right.
And then
no,
man. If you, honestly, I'm a firm believer of like, hey, look, like, you're more than your image, of course, right? But if you yourself want to look a certain type of way, of course, like for me, like I had to be presentable, then like rock with it, but handle your business. So like I have tattoos from head to toe. You know, my mom initially was like, hey, don't do that because you mean stereotypes, you'll get pulled over. Of course, I got pulled over way more, of course. Like it was so funny because everything she said was right. But also, like now I do my thing, you know, I have my business down the street, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm getting the investment properties, I'm doing the Magic City thing, and like, yo, nobody even sees that stuff anymore. It's like, yo, like, oh,
right.
You know, this is what Reese does, this is not. And they're like, hey man, like, and a lot of times people just gravitate towards like your own like being and like how you carry yourself, because like you're so confident, like, yo, this is me, bro. You know?
Yeah.
And my mom raised me not to be in line. Like I create my own ways and my own path. And you know, that's how God did it too. So, you know, I'm gonna follow his footsteps.
Yeah. I love that, man. The other day we were on the phone just having a conversation, and you basically were talking about like, look, the way that crypto is rising right now, the way that NFTs and the blockchain and all the changes in the world, you're talking about real estate. It's no time to be safe with your approach, right? No time to really be conservative. Like it's almost like, hey, I got to be aggressive. I got to learn as much as I can about the way that the world is changing, because it's changing faster than it ever has before.
Facts.
So that you could take advantage of these opportunities.
1,000%.
And I remember you even telling me a story once of how at one point you were working for an NFL team.
Yeah.
And then you said, you know what, I'm leaving here. This ain't for me. I'm going to go and start my own thing.
Yeah.
At a young age. And you started doing that and started killing it in that way. And I remember we were shooting a music video. We were we were there, And you and I were having a conversation. And I just said, man, what you did, I thought about doing something like that before,
Oh
but
yeah, I remember that.
having the security and the backing of like this large corporation behind me, it just makes it that much harder for me to actually leave. And I remember you paused and you said, bro, stop. How big is your God? And
Oh
that
yeah, I remember
always
that.
stuck with me, bro. Like you said that. How big is your God? And I just remember that forever. And
Yeah,
over the last year and a half, 2 years, having gone through this journey of entrepreneurship, but it always sticks in the back of my head is that day you telling me, how big is your God, man?
yeah.
But one thing that you're really big on right now is just faith-based entrepreneurship, man.
Yeah.
Talk about that a little bit, man. What is that?
So faith-based entrepreneurship, I think it stems from even back then when I was like, I'm gonna leave that team because, mind you, that's comfortable or whatever. Like, but then when you step back and you look at your life and you're like, wait, this is not what I want this to look like, nor this is not what God placed on my heart to. I think that God always places like a little bit of the vision what He has for your life on your heart. So like, yo, whether you go to sleep and you dream about it, or whether one day you're driving, all of a sudden you get an epiphany, like, wow, that's awesome. I need to do this. Like whatever it is, God's like, hey, look, like, then do it. But
Yeah.
God will always test your faith in everything you do because He wants to make sure, hey, look, like, yo, are you really with me or not? Are you like half in, half out, or are you actually like believing who I am? And I remember one time, which when I walked away from Christ and stuff, I was on my journey coming back, and I was like, you know what, Lord, hey, if you are who you are, then you just got to show up and show me. Because if not, I'm just not gonna believe. I'm a human, bro. Like,
You
and I'm
put,
not
you
gonna
put them to the
believe.
test.
Yeah, like, yo, ain't no way I believe unless like you pull up in front of my face and be like, yo, hey, whoop, 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 this is that. And then I prayed that, and ever since then, it's like, yo, He creates these doors, these opportunities that it's funny. Like, I can't handle myself, right? Because it's like so big of an opportunity, so great of a door. But you step through the door, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, like, Lord, I can't do this. And He's like, I know you can. I'm showing you who I am. Like, you asked me 2 years ago, so let me show you. And that's when He starts elevating the experiences and elevating every little aspect of dream you have inside of you to make it how He wants it to. And anything that He does is going to be greater than what you can even conspire to create in your own head. You know?
Man.
So the faith-based entrepreneurship comes from a place of me wanting to learn more about God and learn who He is, because He says Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah this, Jehovah Shalom, like peace,
Yeah.
provider, like helper, all that stuff. I'm like, okay, cool, peace. When do we ever have peace? Because we're always like on go. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always on go because I always try to create for myself.
Right.
But when you say, hey, I want to test you to who you are, you're like, yeah, I'm Jehovah Shalom, the God of peace. All right, so let me tell you what peace looks like. Give me the burden, give me the dream, give me the vision, and you sit back and watch how I cover and protect it. Also watch how I bring you peace through this. Right? And you talk about, okay, cool, I'm the provider. All right. As a man, you want to provide.
Jehovah Jireh.
Yeah, but your name is Yves, not Jehovah Jireh. My name is Reese,
Yeah.
not Jehovah Jireh. So he's like, okay, cool, my name is this. Well, let me show you what it looks like. Hey, I'm going to put you in a place where I'll shut down the whole world, everything about it, and set you up so that you think, hey, right now, like, oh, I'm going to take off or whatever. Like, I'm going to start this business and that, and I'm going to shut it off. Dang, and all of a sudden I'm on my knees like, Lord, like, what do you mean? Like, the whole world stopped and you had me open up a business, put my money into it, and create a space that I thought was going to generate revenue, but it's not, because like you shut everything off. He's like, remember I said I was a provider and you wanted me to show up? Check me out. I never went a day without no food, and also my staff had never missed a paycheck.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, dang, well, that's interesting because you provided when, you said, hey, you are this person. So like each and every day, like I wake up, whatever, I say my prayers and stuff like that, and like I walk through, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, where is God showing up, and how does He? What's up, baby? How does He show up through this time, and how He's showing Himself? But sometimes it takes a lot of reflection, or just the stop and the pause. Like I'm a big believer in like, hey, look, like in your day, I don't work for more than like 2 or 3 hours at a time. After that 2 or 3, like, yo, I'm gonna close this laptop, I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna take a walk, I'm gonna breathe, I'm gonna go walk with somebody or take one of my staff and hey, take a walk real quick, let's talk, and see how God operates in those spaces. Because
That's a different approach right there.
Oh no, 1,000%.
That's not the way that we're wired, bro. That ain't
No.
that ain't how we're supposed to think. It's, hey, look, I got to put in these 8 hours and I got to be focused. But
it's not effective. But you look, even you were in the football industry, or you were in the athletics field. Like in basketball, we couldn't be on the court for more than 2 hours.
Right.
Why is that? Because we won't be at our optimum state after those 2. In football, you can only do so many repetitions on the field,
right,
because you have to take that break. But same thing here. But again, to the faith-based entrepreneurship, I think that I want to live a life that yells and screams like Jesus Christ. But for me, it wasn't in the four walls of the church. It was more so outside. What I'm going to do with that.
Yeah.
So outside, what that looks like is like really stepping out and being like, hey, I think I can create one of the biggest event spaces in the city or in the world. And somebody will sit down and look at you like, bruh, like, what? But I want every time I talk to somebody and tell them a dream I have, I want their response to be like this. What? Because I know that if you can't think it or conspire or make it make sense in your head, that means that it's big enough for God to do. Yeah. And that means that he's going to get the glory because everybody's going to ask, yo, how did you do that? And whenever I've been asked, yo, how did you do that? I'm like, bro, like, I don't think you understand. God pulled up in ways that I can't describe. Like for me to switch a location for a major event 7 days before, find a new location, and then also find the flooring needed to play on it where it was literally an act of the Lord because like we had no other way. It's like, oh, okay, cool. God's going to make sure that makes sense.
And in this one in particular, you're talking about the Magic City Cup.
Yes, yeah. So basically our location kind of flaked. And then 7 days before, and this was a time frame where I was reading a lot about faith and about like the staff and how like, you know, David and Moses, all of them had staffs or whatever, and they would make these little marks on the staff to remind them of the goodness of God so that whenever they went through a time and frame where it was a situation where they couldn't handle it, they look at their staff and be like, oh yeah, God really was faithful. So I got to trust in this. So at the time I was like, Lord, you made me raise $125,000 for an event in 4 months for me to come to a point where I'm like, bro, I don't have a location. He's like, yo, remember your staff. All right, whatever, bro. I'll try to remember it. Right. And then all of a sudden, you know what I'm saying, like different pieces connected. I met this guy and he owns a space and he's like, yo, cool, 75,000. I'm like, bro, I thought the Lord was coming through until he said 75 bands for this space. And then the guy was like, yo, I asked around and everybody knows who you are. Your name is good in the community. Bro, like, what are you doing? Explain my vision, my mission. He's like, cool, I got you. Don't worry about the price. I'll take care of you. I'm like, what? Oh, thank God. And then we get to the spot where it's a taco tournament, so you need turf. Right? So I'm like, yo, the turf sponsor, they ended up flaking through because of like materials, whatever it was. Oh, wow. I'm like, yo, I have 5 days to find turf, enough for a 7v7 field. And if you buy turf flat out, you're spending $136,000 to install and everything. So you know what? I said, Lord, you ain't bring me this far. That's what they keep saying. So it's good. He's like, yo, find rest in me. Okay, cool. I'm going to go to sleep. So I went to sleep to some worship music, bro. I woke up and the name popped in my head. It was my uncle. I'm like, why did Uncle Mike's name come up? I was like, holy crap, Mike has a landscaping company. So I called him. I was like, Mike, help. He's like, bro, what do you need? I told him. He came the next morning with a bunch of dirt and the tractor. He leveled out the floor. He laid it down at like no cost, essentially. And then the turf that we got was called in by a friend. Hey, look, I have a bunch of turf. I heard you guys needed some help with something. He pulled up with truckloads of turf from, guess what, Rolling Loud. Wow. I was like, Lord, you didn't bring turf from Rolling Loud. We pulled it out. No, the dirtiest, nastiest, like, turf ever, bro. We cleaned it up, we laid it out, and then 2 days before, we thought we were good. I was like, Lord, you came too. My homegirl plays World Cup soccer. She hopped on that turf. She said, you can't play on this turf. I said, I'm like, no, that's God's turf. What do you mean? She's like, no, that's not God's turf. I'm like, bro.
She's like, that ain't from God.
That ain't it. So we
turf all from the music festival.
1,000%. Yeah. We sat down in the corner, and I was like, Ashley, yo, this is, God brought me, like, there's no way. This is a God thing, but how? And she was like, Reese, I don't know, but we got to pray. She's a believer. I was like, Lord, help. That's my prayer. Lord, help me. This lady walked by, and she was like, talking on the phone. She was like, yeah, Craigslist is a great place to find things. And then Ashley looked at me. She was like, yo, let's go on Craigslist. I'm like, we're not finding turf on turf. Went on Craigslist, randomly found turf in West Palm Beach, bro. So we drove up the day before, right?
The day before?
Yes, bro. 11 p.m. Pulled up to this very sketch place, bro. Like, I mean, like, you pull up and it looked like a refugee house, bro. And then the guy opened the thing and he flashes the thing, and I was like, Ashley, me, Ashley, and my homie. I was like, guys, if we go out like this, just know it is what it is.
I did it as a faithful servant.
So we pull up, put the lights on, bro. Fields of turf, bro. Wow. The best turf you could think of. So we got it. They shipped it down there.
At a sketch house in Palm Beach.
A sketch house in Palm Beach. They shipped it down. They laid it out or whatever, bro. And we had our field. We had our event through all the nonsense and stuff. It turned out to be amazing. And then, bro, that was our second installation. And now we had conversations with big corporations like Red Bull and all these tech companies that, hey, we want to put in, 6 figures into an event. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, yo, like, if you seriously, like, you step out and step in faith and move towards faith and believe God is who he is, bro, he'll show up. It's just going to be in a way you don't think, because it's really just like, yo, he'll do exceedingly and abundantly than anything that you can ask or imagine. Meaning if you can think it, it ain't big enough.
Oh, bro, you ain't got no choice but to have faith.
Exactly.
For situation.
Exactly.
Gosh, man, bro, what a story. Hold on, I just got to pause for a second. Late in the midnight hour, bro. Like, literally, he came through.
1,000%.
Yeah,
man. And I have stories like that all throughout, bro. So, I mean, I can go on and on about the different instances in my business, like with my actual sports medicine thing, or even the home and buy the purchase and stuff. Like, that makes no sense, But again, I'm a big advocate. I'm like, yo, like, you put God up there, and like, we're not perfect at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, people look at my social, at my Instagram, look at my life, like, oh yeah, this guy's living the perfect best life.
He's got it made. He got it together.
No, that's not how it is. You look at David's life and Solomon's life and all these like kings and queens and stuff. You're like, oh yeah, they had it. Nah, you look at their story for real. Ooh, that thing was rough.
Yeah.
But they always put God in the mix of it and push forward towards him and try to live a righteous life. And that's all he asks for. It's like, yo, like, I want you to try and push, and don't worry, I'll work everything out with you.
Yeah, man. I just love the part of your story where you talk about how counterintuitive it is. Hey, I don't know how we're gonna figure this thing out. Let me go find rest in God. I'm going to sleep.
Yeah.
Most people are like, no, I can't go to sleep. There's no time. I gotta go do this. I gotta do that.
I'm going to sleep, bro.
Bro, I had somebody tell me recently. It was actually my pastor, Pastor Robert Matthews, who said at one point he realized that he had made an idol of the way that God was providing instead of just trusting that God is a provider.
Right.
So, that's where his focus needed to be on. God is going to provide. Instead, just focused on the way that God was providing.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a lesson right there, man, especially in entrepreneurship, especially for immigrants, because a lot of times immigrants do have to go and create their own businesses. But
1,000%.
I think what they're doing is they're serving their own community because they don't know how it's going to be received by the greater community. Whereas I think in the Magic City Cup, you're bringing a whole bunch of different backgrounds, culture together to do this. Right?
100%. I think that's even you look at, like, if you close your eyes right now and imagine, what does heaven look like, or who's in heaven, right? More than likely, you'll see yourself.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna see a bunch of people of different backgrounds and colors and shapes and forms or whatever. But if we're supposed to represent the kingdom on earth, then everything we do has to reflect what that looks like up there. Yeah. So, like, my business, I can't have just all black people in there. Yeah. I would love to, of course, bro. Like, hey, I'm trying to put my people on, but I have to have black, white, Asian, male, female, all that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because that business is a representation of what heaven looks like. And you walk into my place, and I promise you'll feel like it's the most peaceful. Like, wow, this feels good. Yeah, it feels good because we prayed over that space, and you know what I'm saying, we anointed it, we blessed it. But it looks like how it does because that's what heaven looks like. And the Magic City Cup, same thing. It looks like that because that's what heaven looks like to me. It's like kingdom all over. But I'm a big believer in bringing community together. I think that, like, you by yourself, you ain't gonna go nowhere, bro. You'll go far, but like, again, like, you need multiple people. And one of my favorite quotes, it's in this book called Tools of Titans, bro. Tools of Titans, amazing. Yeah. It says that I stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Like, then you stand on the shoulders of giants. What does that even mean? That means that, yo, a giant is 7 foot, bro, and you're on top of his shoulders. Now you're 8 feet 6 inches. But his level of gianthood, right, may come from business, whatever it is, but that person elevated you to be way further than he is. So that's the giant you stand on top of.
Yeah.
But you got to keep that going and rebuilding and investing into persons in your community, and even people like you and me, bro. Like, we have to have these conversations. We have to go out to our community, serve our community, bro. Like, build up the next generation. Like, show them, like, hey, look, I am the blackest individual on the block. But I mean, actually, I think I'm the only black business on this block. Actually, yeah, actually I am. Wow. And bro, I look like this, but guess what? I come from an area, like I lived in Perrine, Goulds, Naranja, Overtown, Cutler Ridge, like neighborhoods that, yo, people don't really come out of like that unless like you got a football or
Right.
basketball in your hand or maybe even a soccer ball. But otherwise, like, you ain't doing nothing. So you go back to those community and they look at you like, wait. You came from here? Like, yeah.
And I'm not an athlete or musician, but I'm a businessman.
No, yeah, I do business, bro. I'm trying to take over not only this block, but I'm trying to take over the city. I'm trying to take over multiple areas. But I'm trying to have properties in different states and countries, and have businesses in different states and countries, and have my foot and my place in avenues that a lot of people were like, yo, wait, what? How did you end up here?
Yeah.
So I can tell
You ever
you a
feel
little story.
you ever feel an obligation or responsibility to go back to Jamaica and to contribute to that too?
It's interesting. I do, and I'm just waiting for the right time to do so.
Yeah.
So one of my good friends, he does an initiative over there for soccer that I'm working on going over this December to do for like 3 or 4 days. But I definitely want to give back in a different aspect. I've thought about working through the sports medicine realm and doing it. I've actually tried. I flew over there and met with a couple of individuals for that. But it's just, I think sometimes it's like, yo, you try to force the timing, right?
Yeah.
And you want something so bad, right? So bad, like, yeah, I want to be in. And you create anxiety and all this rush and stuff like that. And then you create an avenue that is not supposed to be it. That's not the one that's blessed. You got to wait. And when God says, yo, go, it's more so that he's going to place somebody around you that leads it to that instead of you trying to go and do that. But that's also counterculture because everybody's like, yo, I'm going to go get her.
Right now.
I'm like, okay, yeah, you go get. You see what happens when you go get that. I'm going to sit and wait and move when the Lord says move. Like, I want to move like David. David said that, and everything he did, it was a prayer. Hey, Lord, like, yo, my son's Absalom's coming after me. Like, yo, do I come out this cave yet? He's like, nah, you'll die. Okay, cool, I'll wait. You know what I'm saying? Like, do I make a right or a left? Oh, make that right. Okay, cool. But it's all at the right time and when God wants it to be. And it's the hardest place to be because, again, all that's counterculture.
Yeah.
Culture says to go get it when you can and get it right now. When God's like, nah, sit and wait and let me present it. Like, for instance, like the home that I'm looking at now, we put an offer on it today, actually this morning. But it's funny because, like, when I was looking for a place, right, and looking for, like, investment, looking for multifamily, like, it was like nothing would work out. Like, I didn't see it. Nah, that ain't it. And then all of a sudden it popped up, and it was like, okay, well, my admin's dad owns this home, and it looks good or whatever. Let me pull up to it. I hit him up. I'm going to come pull up to the house. So I went up 4 hours away from Miami, stayed the night there, chilled, had a lot of peace about it. And then I'm like, dang, there's not many homes that are built this brand new on the water near a beach for this price. I'm like, Lord, how did you present this to me? And he's like, yo, I told you, I got you. Just trust.
Yeah, just trust me.
And let me take care of the story. So it's like sometimes it comes from you just stepping back and being like, I'm going to be obedient in what God's timing is like right now and let him go ahead and operate. And he can steer the ship. I'm going to be on that ride, though. And when he tell me to do something, I'm going to go ahead and try to do it.
That's it right there, man. I love that. I'm telling you, Reese, every time I talk to you, bro, you always inspire me to just like go talk to God. Like I leave our conversations ready to go pray, ready to go write down in like some vision or something.
Yeah.
That's what it's about, man.
1,000%.
Man, I appreciate you being on here. I appreciate you doing this. Glad we finally had a chance to actually, record because honestly, I think a lot of people need to hear the conversations that you have and need to hear the things that you have to say. And you have such a powerful voice, man. So
thank you. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Thank you for your friendship, man. And where can people look for you? Where can people find you? Is there anything that people need to be
in the dungeon? I'm kidding.
No,
people can. They can find me, of course, on my Instagram. So at Reese Whiteley, of course, REESE WHITELY, and then you can also look up our business, so Complex Health and Wellness. That's at We Are Complex MIA, or the Magic City Cup is at Magic City Cup. And that's the 3 platforms I'm on right now. You can go ahead and search me anywhere or call the office, whatever y'all need. Like, feel free to email me, DM, whatever it needs to be. And I'm pretty open in any conversation or pouring into anybody. So as long as I have time to do so, I'll try to make that time and be there. So
gotcha.
Hit me up.
I got to let you know too, man. After our last conversation, bro, I actually went and purchased my first NFT.
No, you didn't.
Look, we in here, man. I'm in the Web3 space now, baby. Come on.
Bro, I'm gonna send you a link actually to my Discord on Sundays. That it's a powerful place, and also it's very informative. So I'll plug
Yeah,
you in on
I
there.
joined 2 Discords. So
Oh my God,
I feel like a real blockchain nerd right now, man.
Hey, well, you on that?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Love
I'm
it.
so proud of you, bro. I'm proud of everything you're doing and accomplishing, bro. And of course, all the best. Praying for you all the time, and whatever you need, I'm here for you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Good evening.